I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom. All right, so hopefully we get this episode out before this guy is on the news. Just found out he was interviewed for some volunteer work that he's doing. So clearly a high impact man that we're interviewing today. But we also have a guy who's a former Site Q at the Sandlot, so our premier running AO in Sarpy, and Baby Shark. Man, it's just good to see you. Happy Friday. You look good.
Thank you.
Love to just hear your story, sort of where it all started. So who EH'd you? What was the first workout like, and then how did we get the name Baby Shark? I'd love to hear that story.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. I was really excited when you reached out. I listen to these podcasts. You do a great job, and I just love hearing the messages from the other PAX members. But so yeah, I started my journey. It's been 4 years now. August of 2019.
Nice.
I got EH'd by Safe Ride, who I went to school with, friends with, and he was queuing at the pit on a Saturday morning down at Papillion. He sent me a text on a Friday afternoon, and he said, "Hey, I'm leading this workout group." He didn't really give much information. He said, "You want to join?" And I, trust the guy. He's a friend of mine. I said, "Absolutely. I'll be there." So he had sent like a link with some information. I didn't even really look at it, to be honest with you. I just I trust him. I said, "Okay, I'll show up." And it was a great workout. It was like an hour. So I'd done some boot camp stuff, at my gym and things of that nature. But certainly like the nomenclature and that kind of stuff, like threw me off a little bit. And but I remember he did Deck of Death, and and I hadn't done burpees in a long time, so I remember doing those, and that was kind of tough. And certainly, like most guys, I think monkey humpers came out, and that was my point of thinking, like, what are we doing here, kind of thing. But
this is weird. This is a cult.
Yeah, no. So it was a smaller group back then, and it was August. The weather was beautiful. Just a great group of guys, and like I said, Safe Ride's been a good friend of mine. Trust him, and he did a great COT and everything like that, and. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself. I've told the story a little bit before, and Safe Ride will kind of give me a hard time about this sometimes, but so I posted, and then I didn't really post again for a little bit, like a few months. I was kind of into my own workout group and everything like that, and I can kind of tell you the story in a little bit of how I kind of came back to that. But so smaller group, but of course at the Namerama, just started sharing stuff about my family, work history. I do work for the railroad, and so they started throwing those out, and I think they were, Thomas the Train, and there were some other people. They said, no, we just did those. We can't do those. And so tell us something interesting. And I've always been a big water guy. Swam in high school. Actually had a scholarship to swim in college, and I turned it down and decided to play water polo for Colorado State.
Nice.
And I have a shark tattoo on my hip, actually. So when we asked about that, and I think it just all kind of stars aligned. That song was super annoying at the time, still is annoying, I suppose. But
yeah, it's still annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. Got Baby Shark, and I absolutely love it. And it's funny you see, there's Baby Sharks around the country, because I'll post at other sites, and, they'll hear Baby Shark. And I'm like, well, we got a Baby Shark. And I think I remember that New York Times article was spreading around or something like that. And they mentioned a Baby Shark in there. So it's a great name, and so I've embraced it, and my kids absolutely love it.
That's awesome. It's funny. We ask every guy, like, do you have any tattoos, right? And they try to come up with a name based off of that. So at least you have a name that's related somehow to like some body art, right?
I know that actually worked out. Yeah.
Why did you get the shark tattoo? I guess where did that come from?
I think it was just the swimming. I was big into swimming, and so it's just it always reminded me of the water, and trying to be fierce, I guess. And I got it young. My mom had to sign off on the permission slip. I think I was 16 years old, and she let me go get it. And that was like my birthday present for being 16 years old. And it just had to be somewhere that couldn't be visible. And so I put it on my hip. And yeah.
That's awesome.
I haven't had tattoos since. And it's funny, my wife has a tattoo of like a turtle on her hip, like a little turtle. And
Like
yeah,
the same
like it's just
matching tattoos. That's
right,
funny.
which
What?
we did
So
years prior. But
you mentioned that you were working out before. What was your routine? Like, were you doing CrossFit or just working out at the gym, or what were you doing before F3?
I was mostly a runner, and
Okay.
I ran, kind of by myself a lot for a lot of years. And then my workplace, they got a gym here, and then I fell in with a group of guys that we were running over lunch. And then they offered classes, some boot camp style classes, some Pilates and things like that. Um, and so really running's always kind of been my thing. And, and so that's kind of when I started with F3 or when I had that first time, I was still really involved with this group and we were going to the office every day. So this is right before COVID. And, so I was pretty loyal to them. And there's a few guys that posted F3 that also work at the same workplace as me. And so I ran with them as well. And so that's kind of
It's
where I
like
built.
Thomas and Girl Dad and those guys.
Yep, absolutely. Girl Dad,
Okay.
Butterfly, Hog, and then and I made my way into their group. They were kind of their own group because they,
Mhm.
did their thing, and then I was running with some other guys, and then I got to know Girl Dad, and then so the kind of the funny story there was I, already done F3, had a name, and I think Thomas the Train EH'd, and a couple of those guys, probably a group effort, EH Girl Dad, and he asked me because we live on the same street. He said, "You ever heard of this F3 thing?" And I said, "Oh boy, I already got a name." He's like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going tomorrow morning." I said, "I'll be there." So it's kind of like, that was my second coming, really, to be honest with you. It was, I got brought in by Safe Ride, but then took a few months off, and kind of when COVID hit, and my UP circle brought me in, and then from there I was, full on,
You were
really.
all in. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That's
So
really cool. And you mentioned posting. Have you posted Downrange? How's that been when you've gone to
I
other
have,
areas?
yeah, absolutely. For my job, I have a territory that's out in California, Los Angeles, and like the Bay Area. Los Angeles is a little bit tougher. I've actually like Scuba goes out there for work too. We've tried to coordinate to go to sites, but you got to go way out into like to the valley and stuff. But San Francisco, yeah, I got into a good group. I met their Nantan Sunshine, and we formed a relationship. And I posted several times out there. I've actually led
Oh,
one of
that's
their
cool.
groups. So my favorite one is Tuesday mornings is Full House out there. It's in Alamo Park, which is your classic, the painted ladies you see in the show.
Yeah.
That's Tuesday morning. They got one the Stairs down in Belmont, and then Mulva is in Dolores Park on Thursdays. So,
That's
but
awesome.
I'd like to share a story about that because, so I would go out there and regularly post, and I go out there for work one time. I fly into Oakland on a Monday morning, and I've told this story to other PAX members on runs and stuff. And I get off, get my rental car, and I make a first stop, and I run in for a Chipotle burrito. And as I'm getting the burrito, I come out, and someone had bashed my windows out of my car and stole all my stuff. Broad
Oh,
daylight,
wow.
right? So Chipotle, Starbucks, Wingstop. This busy plaza, and I, come out just freaked out, and I'm asking like, what happened? And people say, well, it's Oakland. You don't leave stuff in your car, and so whatever. I call the police. They say, are you injured? No. Like, okay, we don't do much. So I was really down. You call my boss, like, what do I do? Like, just hop on a plane and get back. I had a really important meeting on Wednesday, so I kind of just sat there, and of course I was safe. Everything, these things are tangible, they're replaceable. Like, I can get through this. Like, I need to be here. Let's do this. So I run to the Costco, the dress for, Ross Dress for Less, Walmart, get what I need, chargers. I had my phone on me and stuff, and but get some workout clothes. And that was like the first thing I thought of was, I was going to end my day, but I was like, Tuesday morning I'm posting. So I text Sunshine, and it's like, I'll be there. So it's like, yep, I'll be there for sure. And, I went there. It was fantastic, right? I didn't even tell these guys like what happened to me because I didn't even want to share. I didn't want to be the victim. I didn't, and it just was, I went there. I just wanted to work out, be somewhere I was familiar with. These guys know me. They welcomed me. I worked out, and then I was going to do it again. So I went Wednesday morning, and then I got a text from Sunshine, and he said, hey, look, I'm queuing Thursday morning. I always queue like do you want to queue? Like, we'd love to have someone from Omaha or somewhere else. Just you do you, right? Because it's a little different out there. I mean, every site's a little different. I've posted in other states and stuff, right? So there's some nuances. And he's like, and he's from North Carolina. He's been around for a long time. And he said, I want you to, just run your regular work. I want you to do your COT that you would do, all that kind of stuff. And so it was just a fantastic week, and just shows you, I mean, this community is beyond Omaha. It's a nationwide thing. And like I said, that got me through that trip. And so I've got a special place in my heart for F3 Peninsula in that Bay Area. And when this is complete, I hope to share this with Sunshine and his group, and hopefully they'll listen. Respect for those guys out there.
That's so cool. I love what you said there of like, this community is so much bigger, than just Omaha, right? I think I saw a recent tweet. It's like over 4,000 workouts every week across the world, really. There's one in India, F3 India, I think just popped up. Like, it just is crazy. And it's cool. You can go like anywhere and you get the same interaction, right? Same sort of like group of guys, everybody trying to get better. That's really cool. So man, sorry to hear about your car. That I would panic in that scenario, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
learning lesson, that kind of thing. And just be very protective. But like I said, I wasn't injured, and you kind of get over that stuff quick. And
yeah, but you had some good stress relief through the workout with the guys out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I was out there by myself, right? And that's another thing is I didn't have a coworker that I could, I was kind of on my own. Of course, I called my wife right away and that kind of thing. But to have F3 there was, that was a great thing. And to be able to post like 3 days in a row too, which is kind of neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Hey, I'm curious, so as far as like thinking about like that second F piece, and you've got these kind of a running group from work, and maybe some guys out in California and different areas. Like, how have you had success developing relationships with guys in the group? How, as you came into the group, how did you go about just building new friendships?
Yeah, I mean, I try and talk to everyone that I meet. I mean, I know a lot of people that are in the group. And like I said, that kind of the second coming for me was with a lot of the UP guys. But being in Papillion, Sarpy County, I sort of grew up there. I moved there when I was like 8 years old. Know a lot of people. I mean, I'm always a talkative guy. I think the running component was always a big part of it, right? So I started with the pit, and then all we really had was the Sandlot. And so that was kind of my jam. I was running the Sandlot every Thursday, and you get a great opportunity to meet other people. I shared this at my flag pass, but one of the aha moments for me with the second F was at the Sandlot when they had hosted for the Turkey Trot. And I was out there, and someone dragged me out there. I can't remember who, but they're like, you got to do it. And I was like, all right. So I did it. And I just, I talked to another PAX member I didn't talk to very much. And like, we talked like the entire time and really got to know each other. And that was kind of that moment where it's like, okay, I can go run any day I want. I can go call any, I'm fortunate that I have a group of friends. I can call someone, we can go for a run, but like, this is what it's all about. I reached out and made a connection with this guy that we share something in common, And so that really kind of accelerated the second F component for me there. But yeah, I love it. I mean, just trying to get to know guys, ask them questions, things like that, make them comfortable. And I think it comes a little bit easier for me to do that. And I've enjoyed it. And I like working out with other people, sharing ideas and things of that nature. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious your thoughts too on like as we've grown, right, and we've added some of these, like we've got running sites and weight sites, and how have you progressed to some of the different options, or have you kind of stuck with the same sites, or how have you navigated with all the activities that we have?
No, that's a very timely question, because I just did the flag pass right with the Sandlot, which is running. And so Sweet Roll got me on the queue for Steel Mill pretty quick. Nice. So I actually queued yesterday, and I'd only been there one time, right? So I'm always more of a runner, and so I came up with this workout. I was kind of sharing ideas with them and stuff. I don't know what these guys are into. Like, I'm not really a weights guy. I'm like a running guy. And he's like, you'll do fine. Keep them moving, right? And it actually, 26 guys showed up, and it was kind of scary, but it ended up going really well. So, but in terms of the growth is amazing, right? Like I said, I started with the pit. We had the Sandlot. We had the sanitarium. I mean, having the access to Papillion South and then going to Bellevue West and Papillion and getting on these fields and stuff, it's pretty neat. And a lot of guys that are coming on new, you just don't know that this is a great opportunity to get on some of these sites and stuff. So yes, we have lots of different opportunities. Running is always going to kind of be what I like, and keeping moving and getting the cardio and things like that. But certainly, I'm not getting that old, but I guess I'm in my 40s. Like, just doing a little bit more weight work is important to me. So I've been trying to do that more. Thinking outside the box with some of these things with the disco, and I played ultimate frisbee when I was in college, that kind of thing. That's fun. It's not great. So, but yeah, the growth has exploded. I maybe struggle a little bit with the Sarpy sector and that kind of stuff. And you probably know I've got connections up in Douglas County and stuff like that. The high school I went to is, prominent high school here in Omaha. So I know a lot of guys, and I'm not coming up as much as often, but that's, and I don't think that's because of the splintering, or the sectoring by any means. I just think we've grown so much, and you kind of get back to that second F that, I look at a Q schedule. And I'm a big proponent of, I see a younger guy or someone who's like really excelling, I want to be there at that Q. Obviously like a VQ, but I really pick up on someone who, if they haven't been around for a while or something like that, or just they really accelerated the last couple weeks, I want to be there, that kind of thing. And so it's really hard to look at a schedule and not go to somewhere in Sarpy County just because I've had the connection with so many people.
Yeah. It's a toss-up, man. When you've got 60 sites or whatever, it's like I don't know where I'm going, because you want to be everywhere, but you just can't.
Yeah.
And there's always something special going on, right? It's either an anniversary or a VQ or a shovel pass. It's tough to navigate. But curious from your perspective, you've been a runner, and I love the second F that we get with running. But maybe some guys don't feel up to it, or maybe they haven't ran a whole lot. What sort of insight or advice would you have for a guy that maybe wants to get started with running? Like where do they start?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of guys in the group. I think if you reach out to on the WhatsApp and the Slack channel and just said this is what I'm interested in, I think people would be willing to go out and do shorter runs. I think what's really neat about the Sarpy County is every site that you go to, there's multiple things going on before the beat town. I think there was someone downrange at Catamount on Tuesday who showed up 10 minutes early, and he thought he was late. He was like, what is going on? Because he sees all these guys in their Knox gear coming up, and he said, well, they're pre-running, they're pre-rucking, they're doing this thing. And so there's opportunities out there that I think a lot of guys, especially in Sarpy, if someone said, hey, I want to get into running, and they would help them out. And a great example is, and I think I need to give credit, I hope I give credit correctly, is like the sweet roll with what we call the Love Run is before the Steel Mill and Sandlot on Thursday mornings. So I think it's supposed, because it's like 2.14 miles, right? Yeah. And that's a slower pace, but that's a great way. And there's guys that have reached out on WhatsApp for like Sanitarium. That's one of I'm a pretty regular pre-runner at Sanitarium on Tuesday mornings. That said, hey, I want to do it. I might cut off at the high school, this, and like, absolutely, even though I can certainly do the 3.5, like if that's what you want, I'll run with you and cut that off. So I've done that with a few guys. So I would just encourage anyone, I know it is hard sometimes. Maybe it's intimidating. We've got some guys who they're running sub 7 miles and it's intimidating, but there are other guys out there, and, maybe I'll plug it right now. If you're interested, reach out to me. I will certainly slow down a pace and work with you, because I've been running all my life, and it's been a great journey exercise-wise, and I'd love for people to get into it. And I've seen people, especially I've seen PAX members who show up and, I couldn't run a mile, but then they just started kind of pushing themselves in a little bit, and then all of a sudden now they're running. So just got to kind of jump into it and find that support.
Heck yeah, man. I didn't used to always be willing to slow down my pace, but I've learned that like I get so much more out of that, like running a slower pace with a guy who's working to achieve something than just running as fast as I can. Like the endorphins or the whatever, like, screw the calorie burn, like just the positive feeling you get after running alongside somebody is, I've come to enjoy that a lot more than just the running my hardest. But, I'm curious, do you feel like you've always had really strong male relationships? It seems like you kind of came into the group, maybe had some friends, but I also kind of hear a little bit of like maybe F3 has helped strengthen some relationships for you. But how do you feel, or what's been your experience just developing those high quality friendships?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I grew up in Papillion, so I've got strong roots there, and I've got a pretty good, strong core of friends that I've known since like grade school, and but I'm always willing to meet new people and everything like that. I'm heavily involved in our parish or St. Columkill Church, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
actually quite a few guys that we've EH'd as a group that goes there, that have joined, and we've gotten into running, the pre-running and stuff like that. But just kind of keeping an open mind. But I'm always down to meet new people, and as we age in life, things change, and there's certainly people that I used to hang out with quite a lot 10 years ago. But I'm a big believer in you are who you surround yourself with,
Hmm.
and so there's some fantastic guys in F3, and I learn a lot from other people. I think I've somewhat got it figured out, or sometimes, and then it's just like to hear some stories, and it just helps me be better, and so to form those relationships with different people is important to me. So
Heck yeah. What about the guys that maybe you go to church with? Do you feel like has F3 kind of strengthened your relationship or brought it to another level? Just different activities sort of being included.
certainly, I think I mean St. Clunko is a large parish, a lot of people in it, and so being Catholic, you kind of show up at mass and you go through the motions, right? There's not a lot of um, a little bit different, right? So there's a lot of guys I've gotten to know that someone that might have EH'd, and I knew they were from St. Columkill, and you start running with them, you start working out, and you realize, gosh, there's so much more to them and interesting, and that kind of stuff. So absolutely, F3 allows itself that. I mean, we're obviously here for some common interest. We want to work out, build fellowship in the faith, but yeah, it kind of catapults what we were already doing, and me and my wife and I, we're quite involved in the church. We do some fundraising stuff. I've done some stuff with Alpha, and I've learned that other people are involved in some other stuff, and that's gravitated me towards that as well. To keep an open mind, it's like, well, maybe I can help you in this portion of it. What you're doing at the church and stuff like that. So it's definitely strengthened that, and it's been fun too. Like you talk to a guy and it's like, hey, you'll just randomly be at church or something like that, and we'll have a group of 6 guys, and we're all F3, and then there'll be a couple other guys, and it's like, well, you're working, Monday
Yeah.
morning you come into the Murph, and they're like, what, you guys, you're doing it now? You're doing it now? It's like, yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
it makes it a little more exciting, right? You're like, yeah, seeing who haven't we EH'd from church, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. What as far as the other second F stuff, have you been able to participate in like coffee or maybe at some of the happy hours or other second F events? How have those been for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fortunate with my schedule and work. My wife is a little bit flexible too, that post workout activities, I can go grab a cup of coffee. And it's been great. I'm a big believer in it. And I did on-site coffee at the Sandlot for the entire year. I was brewing it and bringing it in containers and jugs, and then we added the steel mill, which is right next door, and so we just would gather underneath the shelter there and drink coffee. And I think it's great. It's a great way to get to know people and talk to them. So happy to do it. People have reached out to me like, can you bring coffee to this? And I rarely say no. To the chagrin of my wife, who's like, "Are you making coffee tonight?" Like, I mean, there's been weeks I've made 3 or 4 times in a row. And she's like, "What is going on?" It's just like, something's going on. They want to go on some coffee. But I'm happy to do it. Absolutely, like it. Fills me up. Makes me happy just to have it there, because I just know, especially some guys, they got to get out of that workout and they got to get to work and everything like that, and so it's hard to sometimes go to a coffee shop and that kind of thing. But to have it on site is real convenient. And I
Yeah.
posted in Sacramento, California, one time, and it was a small group. It was 4 guys. I didn't tell them I was coming, and this is Delta group, and it was kind of funny. They, the guy was queuing four. There was four, and I was the fifth. He thought there was going to be four. So he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, I can't believe there's five. I don't like I created a workout for four. Like I didn't know there was five. And I was like, I apologize. I don't I could help you, And so we get through it, and it was kind of fun. He took this box, and it was just full of bungees, and he just dumped them on the ground, and we did it like Merkins with just bungees and rubber bands and something different. So, but anyways, getting back to coffee, like, yeah, sure enough, they're like, you got to come grab coffee with us. And, I didn't have a meeting till later. And, so we drove like 20 minutes out of the way, like to downtown, like Sacramento, because it was whatever, the greatest coffee. And the guy leading, or their Nantan was a retired state patrolman, but great guy. And so we had coffee, and fortunately I didn't have a meeting for, a little while, and I was up early, obviously. And so, that made that experience, right? The workout was great. I mean, with the bands and stuff, and I brought some ideas back, great guys, but just sitting there and having coffee, and they picked my brain about F3 Omaha. And, to me, again, that's what it's all about. And we friended each other on Twitter, so they kind of repost each other's stuff, and I support them. They, it's a great group of guys out there too. They're small too. They've kind of the Sacramento area, very strong up north, like your Roseville, and kind of the suburbs up there, kind of like Omaha. You can go to a site and they're going to have 20 guys and they're wearing F3 shirts. And but there's some of these smaller groups that are in like these urban areas, and that's what I'm always interested in. So if anyone's traveling at all, I mean, obviously try and post if you can, but really these urban centers, in my opinion, I've seen need a little bit of help. Like you would think like downtown San Francisco, right? I mean, that's how many people live there, but they don't have a lot of guys posting. Downtown Sacramento and some of these cities, and then LA didn't even have it. But if you get into the suburbs a little bit, people are catching on. So
it's always been interesting to me. I know like Rancid was in Chicago for a while, and hearing him talk about think of all the people that live there, but they don't. We have more guys posting at our workouts. It's really kind of an interesting dilemma. You should have. Hopefully, you taught the guys in Sacramento about on-site coffee and how to if they're driving.
Yeah, right. No, I told them that. Like, whoa, well, they looked at each other like, who's going to do that? I don't like. And they were kind of like, this coffee shop was like really fancy too, and I was just like, I don't know if you're going to get guys from Omaha to go to a coffee shop like this, but like, because the coffee.
That's funny. Yeah. No, I love that one, and thanks for the on-site coffee too, because man, that does make a huge difference. I feel like a lot of guys, you probably catch 5 or 10 guys that would normally just head home right on their way. As everybody's going to coffee, they would head home, and they feel like they can stay, have a few extra minutes, just to share the morning, which is awesome. But, in terms of kind of in the second up, but think about just other relationships. You feel like, since you've been in F3, has there been any benefit to like maybe your relationship with your wife or relationship with your kids or other folks that you are around frequently?
Yeah, I would definitely start with my M. I think, and a lot of that's just hearing stories, other guys sharing, stuff that they're going through, and just the vulnerability part of it. I've shared some things with some guys on pre-runs and stuff that I never imagined I would share. And I don't, I guess, with what you want to, quote unquote friends that I've had all my life. There's some stuff I just haven't shared, but for whatever reason on a pre-run or something, I might share something that's a little bit more, intimate or that I'm vulnerable about. And I've gotten some good advice. I mean, it's just one of those, like, we're all kind of, no one's stories are absolutely that unique, right? We kind of go through a lot of the same stuff. And I'm getting a little bit older, right? I'm in my 40s. And so some of these guys that come in their 20s, I really enjoy that because you hear their stories and they're having their first babies and they're getting married and stuff like that. And it just, I love it. I love hearing their stories, and it just helps me because it reminds me, right? I'm married 14 years and they're talking about some silly stories from their first year or second year of marriage, and it just kind of makes me feel better about where I'm at and stuff. And, whatever, if I can impart some knowledge, I might. But, it's just that, that range of how many different guys we have and their experiences and what they're going through certainly helps strengthen my relationship in my life. And, I'm blessed. I'm very fortunate. Like, I think of, like, knock on wood, I haven't been like through an injury, and I've seen some people, guys that have posted and they get injured, and like I can't imagine, what they're going through, and then just even reaching out and talking to them, they want to be there and that kind of stuff. So you just gotta feel for them and be there for them, and just for me and my relationships, just with my family and friends, it just makes me incredibly grateful for what I have.
Yeah. How about 2.0s? Have you been able to bring them out at all, or what's been your experience there?
I have. So my son is 13, and he is let it fly. So I've gotten him out.
Nice.
And I know my other sons would love to go too. I just haven't had the opportunity. I think he's mature enough, but he's got a couple friends, Sabotage, and then he's got another guy, I can't remember, escaping me right now. But yeah, he loves it. I bring him to the steel mill. So he's 13, right? He's kind of going through that phase, and he wants to lift weights. And his uncle does F3, so thinks it's cool. And but yeah, I brought him out, and actually he's really getting into running, and he started cross country. He's done some track, but he started cross country this year. And so I brought him out to the Sandlot, and he kept up. He did like 4 miles with us, and
Nice.
impressive. And so yeah, I love it, because that's a lifelong kind of exercise journey that he can have. He enjoys it. And so yeah, he asked me whether he can go or not on certain days, and if he doesn't have like football practice in the afternoon, I'll ask him and say, do you want to go out in the morning, so it's not too much like he's doing a 2-a-day. And so yeah, he's enjoyed it, and he comes home and he kind of makes fun of me and tells the brothers and the wife, they're like, they all call him Baby Shark, and they do this do 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 do, like it's like, it's kind of cringy. I was like, well,
that's funny. I love that.
For you as a 13-year-old, but yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love hearing about guys that have been able to bring their kids out, because you just imagine like it does something for your relationship with them, but then they also have this opportunity to be around some other men that could be a positive influence, right? If they happen to need support any other way, right? They maybe share something, or so just I don't know, just kind of bringing that next generation into the fold, right? And I love that. There's been some over the years, like how young or how old do they have to be, but I don't know, how have you navigated that in the event that they hear something inappropriate from the guys?
Right, and I attest to, like, I've taken them to some parties and stuff like that on the 4th of July. I'm sure they overhear stuff from
Yeah.
my brother, their Uncle Joe, or something that they shouldn't hear. But no, and I thought about that, but I think if they can see a group of, between 26 guys huddle up and pray, whatever. If they heard something or there was something a bit adult, that's I think what he's going to remember, and that's what I want him to see. You don't see that, right? And prayer and stuff, and we are Catholic. We go to church. They go to Catholic school, and we do pray and stuff. And again, like with a lot of F3 guys that go to our church at St. Columkill, I think it's good for him to see them in this role too, right? It's not just dad doing this crazy workout or something like that. Like, there's other guys doing this and praying, and it's important. And so anytime he can go, I'll take him for sure, and he's enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's awesome. What about that third FP? So you mentioned a little bit about sort of your where you go to church now, but would be curious just what's been your journey. Did you grow up going to church, and then also curious how, like, has F3 sort of added, supplemented your faith, or you feel like you've had access to help other guys, or what's been your experience with that third F inside the group?
So I'm a cradle Catholic. I grew up that way.
Did you say cradle Catholic?
Cradle Catholic, yeah, absolutely.
Nice. I haven't heard that before.
Catholic school, grade school, all the way up to like high school, public school for college and stuff. But I stuck with it, and my faith journey kind of ebbs and flows and things like that. But yeah, I've certainly, the F3 in terms of, I kind of get away from Catholicism, which is a little bit more rigid in this, and just meet guys that are just more about, there's something more than this, right? There's a higher being, that kind of thing, and then just even talking to guys that are just more the Christian side and kind of what they think, and I'm not afraid to poke and prod on some of those issues and things like that, and like what you might believe, and I, the older I get, the power of prayer becomes more important to me, and I've seen it. And I'll share a story that my wife's friend, a good friend, and he became a friend of mine, was going through cancer, and just battling it, and he had such a great attitude, and he just knew, he was gonna go to heaven. Everything's all right. Like, had a great life, everything like that. And we were at the Sandlot one morning, and he was kind of getting towards the end, and prayed for him at the very end, and just walking away, got the text message from my buddy that he had passed. It's like literally just passed. And so I just shared with him, and I said, I believe that we were praying for him. I mean, at that time, right? And there's a reason, and so that's always stuck with me, and it's been pretty powerful. And I've met some other packs that have gotten me on some like prayer chains and things like that. Something maybe I wouldn't have done, like prior or even known about. And it's just like, so there's just some opportunities out there. And yes, it's actually, there's been some opportunities for me to strengthen my third F, and any opportunity I can, and
heck yeah,
pray in that circle. It's great.
Yeah, I love that. It is. Over the years, I've thought through like, how do we keep track? It'd be cool to somehow keep better track of the prayers and then report out on the praise, right? Or but it's just there's 60 sites. I don't know. We need a bigger spreadsheet.
Or let people know. I think, one of the most overwhelming thing, or I think powerful thing, is to learn that someone is praying for you.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've learned that in my kind of faith journey, is like, you get surprised. I have 3 brothers, no sisters. And, our household growing up was like crazy. Right. And so my mom's mom, my grandma, she prayed for us like all the time. That's all like every morning, her prayers, like she included us. So we always joke. It's like, that's the only reason like we survived. Right. It's because we had Grandma Flo praying for us. And then when she passed, it's like, well, I don't, who's going to pray for you? But,
right.
Just those moments of, and it happened to me like last year going through something, and someone approached me and they're like, I've been praying for you for like the last like couple months. And you're just like, that is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, I don't know if there's a way to share that with people. I certainly do it, to let people know, hey, we've been praying for you. And sometimes even as easy, I've said it to people at work, right? Like that obviously have a close enough relationship where it's like, hey, by the way, been praying for you. I know about your mom and stuff, but I'm a part of this F3 group. We pray anyways, I almost to like play it off a little bit, like, hey, we pray. So I went ahead and I'm praying for you. And I think that's important, right? I think it's still there, it's like, yeah.
And that's cool. I think even people that maybe don't share the same, like same religion or denomination, right? Still, if you're like recognize like, oh, you're praying for me, like that's a special, sort of sacred thing, right? That is like that it's important whether you have the same exact beliefs or not. So I love that. I need to be more bold in sort of telling people at work that I'm praying for them. That's been sort of like one of those weird lines that I haven't, it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I know. And trust me, I'm not like that guy in the office preachy, but there are, some you form those relationships. I think you get comfortable enough. And if you slip that in the right time, I think it can make all the difference in someone's life.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good insight. One of the other pieces. So as we think about like the F3 mission statement, right, we're trying to invigorate male community leadership. And so we do that in a lot of different ways, but it's like, try to give guys leadership opportunities. And some of that's like a VQ, or maybe it's being a site Q for a while. And would just love to hear your story of, leadership within F3 and kind of including your time as site Q at Sandlot. What was your experience there? How did that go?
Yeah, I was honored when I was asked. I was surprised. I think I'm good at making relationships and connecting with people on that level, but sometimes I don't maybe see myself as that rah-rah cheerleader at the top kind of thing. I'm more of a show up and kind of lead by example. And so, but that's critical too to the mission, is that those people that are good examples and they're out there grinding, and they're there for other people, that kind of thing. So, when I got approached about the Sandlot, I certainly said, well, I can't imagine. There's got to be other people, right? Maybe that's a common response from people. And but yeah, with KOA and Firewalker and these guys I knew, I was happy to take it on. And we talk about that when we're identifying leadership, like in our church and stuff. We call them silent disciples, right? You don't want to overlook people that maybe they don't talk the most and stuff like that, but they're just good-hearted people that are there and they're working hard. And I'm not going to peg Simmons, who took over the Sandlot, as one of the, like a silent disciple by any means, because he's, we talk quite a lot and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
he's one of those, like, great guy. I mean, he's like from Papillion. He grew up there. He, kind of gets it. He's, grinds it out and well respected. So we were kind of coming up with the names, and I was, we had not a long list of names, and and like he was one from the beginning that I was like, well, if he's willing to do it. And then of course his wife, they were having their first baby, and it was right around time, so it's like, okay, well, I gotta be careful here. And so I don't know if you know the story about like the timeline. I started in June, and then we are going to try and get up in June, and I wanted like Firewalker KOA to be there, I wanted Tater Tot to be there, so I was trying to like do our calendars and everything like that, and it just kept getting messed up, and then finally we're like, all right, we have the date set. It was going to be in July, and then he texts and he's like, we're going to get induced that Thursday morning, or that was in June. And I said, well, obviously we're going to postpone the flag path.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what about, we can just do it next week. I said, no, we're not going to do it next week. Like, just give it a couple of weeks. The queue schedule's filled. I don't mind doing it. Like, I love doing this. Like, give yourself a couple of weeks with the baby and stuff. And so we did get it done. So it was a little bit longer than a year, but no, he's been great. One of the greatest things I get out of F3 is just seeing the different leadership styles. And then I can kind of compare it to people that I see at work and just in my regular day life, and there's people that got some great skills that I would love to emulate and take back. And then maybe I've seen some stuff that I don't really care for that, but we're all different. But yeah, it's a great organization that allows for leadership skills and qualities to come out. And the idea of doing a VQ, I know there's some guys that have really drug their feet that they don't want to do it or something like that. But I mean, we've always embraced it. Like everyone who's ever done one, I mean, they're praised so well, and it's just it's a great opportunity for people to experience some leadership stuff and put you in a tough spot sometimes. And I think that's important, right? You need that pressure sometimes. Like,
yeah,
it makes us better men.
For sure. Well, I would be curious your thoughts, because you mentioned Simmons, and I love that story. I remember being, I can't remember, it was maybe a Wednesday or what, it was like right before, and everybody was like, nope. It went out on the schedule, right? Like we were going to do the path.
I did like alert, like.
yeah. Then it was like, nope, abort. We're not doing the schedule, or we're not doing the shovel pass tomorrow or whatever. And it was just really funny, and everybody was kind of like, oh, well, if it's that short notice, then it must be because he's having the baby, which is awesome, right? But just kind of curious at like, as you're thinking about the different leadership styles, and what do you think would be like, I don't know if you have any advice or like insight for guys that are maybe doing their VQ, or maybe it's new guys, like how would you sort of encourage guys to lead well when they get the opportunity?
One of my favorite sayings is like, you do you, whatever your strengths are, kind of play to those strengths, but at the same time, like, as long as you're not doing something absolutely out of the box or crazy, like you do you, like if running or your leg workout or something like that is important to you, or you have a message for that day, don't think you've got to do something that like another leader did, or because that was really good or something like that. Like, I think that's, this day and age, and just even in the workplace and stuff, I love to see people that are thinking outside the box and doing different stuff. And I think it's a place they will accept you. I know with some young people, and that would be my advice, is if you show up to some of these workouts and you see some of these guys that are, it can be intimidating and that kind of thing, but just, remember, they were probably at one spot in their life, and there's plenty of other people, but that's, you do you, and make it unique and special unto you. And, everyone's got skill sets. Everyone's got something special. And that's what we want to see. And that's what we want to see shine through. So, and again, and also, lean on your brothers, lean on the PAX members. If you got questions, and if you're really stuck or something like that, like, someone will help you. Absolutely. And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, for sure. Some of my favorite VQs are the ones that are just like, like stuff we've never done before, you
Mhm.
know, and or even sometimes ones that like I don't know if you were so T Swift did his VQ at the Oracle, and it was a disaster. Like it was just, but he recovered well, right? And then it could have been because I was working out next to Slow Pitch and Tater, and if you get those two in the
Oh
same
yeah.
group, you know, but like it's just we just want to see them be themselves, right? And how do you respond to challenges? How you know, and what ideas do you have? And there's no, that's the beauty of it, right? Is they're open to all men, you know, modify as necessary, and yeah, I think it's always cool to see a guy come up with something new. I'd be curious the band's workout that you saw in Sacramento. That sounds kind of interesting. I haven't done too many of those, but um, you know, the other question I guess is I'm thinking about just like your time as a site Q. Do you feel like was there anything like any opportunities to sort of mentor or like steward other guys in their F3 journey, like maybe getting other guys to do a VQ or what was your experience being a leader at a running site?
With the Sandlot is unique, right? That it's a running site, so you're going to get a certain select group, but and that's I think that is good in the sense of I did have a VQ with a guy. He's a St. Clemco guy, and I've gotten to know him really well. And it's Ray Bans, and he's a great runner. And so I kind of encouraged him. I said, if you're not comfortable with doing like a beatdown style and running's your thing, like think about doing a VQ here.
Hmm.
I'll help you with a route or something like that. And, he was all about it and jumped right in. So I think if you're running and in that shape, that site lent itself to doing a VQ or, doing more Qs if you've already done a Q and you just want to, get a second one under your belt kind of thing. So it's great. That was a great site to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Like the number of guys that are ready to cue a running workout for their first workout maybe is not as, I don't know, what'd you experience? Were there as many guys looking for a VQ at Sandlot as maybe a standard workout?
No, yeah, and I had the opposite too. I reached out to a few guys and was like, "Hey, you want to?" And they said, "Well, I kind of want for my VQ, I want to do like a beat down because I got some more things in mind." And I said, "Absolutely, like
Yeah.
you do you kind of thing." Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I certainly had a couple of guys that said, I'm going to go to the bell tower or go somewhere to the farm or something like that, and totally respected that. And that's again, I want to encourage anyone to, do what you're comfortable or you want to do. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. So.
Yeah. Hey, tell us a little bit too, because you're kind of in a unique spot there where you've got Sandlot and Steel Mill, right? Basically at the same, just a parking lot away. Tell me about maybe, I don't know if you have any funny stories about just being able to kind of partner with maybe it's a sister site and then sharing coffee. How was that experience? Was that good?
It's been fantastic. It's just one of the best spots to be on Thursday morning in Pavilion, right? You've got the two worlds kind of colliding where you got Steel Mill with the weights and then you got the runners. And then now we've just morphed into these, pre-ruckers and pre-runs and the love run. So you're the worlds are colliding a little bit, but that's kind of the place to be because of those two sites that we have in Sarpy on Thursday mornings. So it's been great, and props to the guys who started it, High Life, and then passing it off to Sweet Roll, who's a good friend of mine. I've known him most of my life. I EH'd him actually,
Oh, cool.
and so I worked on him for a long time. He gave me every excuse like every other guy does, right? And I kind of
Yeah.
backed off of him. And so there was one morning in the gloom, and I remember hardly getting out of bed, and I was like, well, I just got to get out there, right? Get out there and run. So I get there and rubbing my eyes, and sure enough, he's just standing there. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you doing? And he's just like, I'm ready. And I was like, he didn't call me. He didn't let me know ahead of time. He didn't understand, what it meant to the EH and that kind of stuff. And
He was at your house or at the workout?
No, at the workout. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay,
he showed up. He looked it up. And I was like, well, gosh, thank God I got out of bed this morning, right? So I don't know, something must have pulled me out. And I said, I don't think Steel Mill had started yet. I was like, this is a running AO. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we're just going to run. And I can't remember who was even leading that day, so I couldn't tell you if we were doing track work or what. And then you could kind of tell he wasn't a runner at the time. And so we got a good laugh out of that. And then, now afterwards, when he started realizing like the importance of like showing up with the guy that UEH, he's like, man, I'm sorry I kind of did that to you. And I was like, no, it turned out to be a great story and it's funny and it worked out. I was there,
Yeah.
And,
Well,
yeah.
and how do you know, right? Like that's the hard part is like there's so many nuances with the group that aren't clear to a new guy, It's like I don't know, but that's
Yeah,
fun.
got a guy at work right now. He lives in Bennington, so he asked me about it, and so
Oh
we have
yeah.
a pop up. And he said, "Well, do I just show up?" And I said, "Well, you can, but like, let me know." And I was like, it's quite of a drive for me, but absolutely, I'll be there Saturday morning if you're going to go. He's like,
Yeah.
"Okay," so it's
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Send him my contact info. Bennington is the closest site to me, about 8 minutes
Oh
away.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, this is awesome, man. And I just appreciate you taking time to, not only lead the group, but you also mentioned that key component of like going through the grind, with the group and just showing up, right? Being there for other guys, being consistent, and then taking time to share your story here has been phenomenal. I'm curious if you have anything else that maybe was on your mind that you would like to share or wanted to get out there that we didn't cover.
No, I mean, I appreciate being here. I don't know if I told the story about my VQ was like the coldest day of the year when I did it back in 2020. It was in February. It was like negative 30 degrees, like schools were closed and stuff like that. So, like grinding it out, I enjoy being in the cold weather, and so that's kind of like I've adopted that as my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just get guys out there. Expand your horizons, try different sites, different things, meet different people, and yeah, keep at it.
Heck yeah, man. Anything that you maybe as you think about your life today, like anything that you're going through or any areas that we could maybe be praying for you or just when we see you be encouraging you on anything in that space today?
As I get older, I mean, family just gets more and more important to me as my boys grow. I've got 3 boys, 3 sons, so 13, 10, and 7. I've got a beautiful wife who I adore and I love, 14 years of marriage. And I just want to continue that, right? And so being pulled in a lot of different directions with work and, you have 3, I guess you suppose, but all the activities that we have. But, I just hope guys continue to, keep me grounded. This is what's most important to me. I don't want to get distracted by anything because at the end of the day, I want to see my kids have kids, and I just want to retire with my wife and hang out with you guys and have coffee and
Yeah.
like that. So I just pray for my health and that I continue to make smart choices.
Absolutely. I love it, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Let's do a little Name-a-rama.
All right.
Brandon Flehardy, 37, The Plague.
The Plague. Peter Kenny, 42, Baby Shark.
Baby Shark. Do, 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 do. And it's the song that's, it was catchy and it's hard to get out of your head, but,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you do like a shark fin or anything like that? Have you come up with a...
No, I haven't done anything like that. I let everyone do the do.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for just sharing your story. And I would encourage guys to connect with you if they have questions about anything we talked through. I've always had a good time just talking with you on runs. And yeah, we'll see you out there in the gloom.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yep.